Hello and welcome everybody. Welcome back to a new session of developing Notula, where I am running into some issues with my test containers because I've updated Docker, and Docker has now some hardware requirements on the API, minimum version of the API being used, and test containers was outdated. So actually, I am trying to see whether updating Spring Boot fixed it or not. If not, this seems to be the workaround, well, one of the workarounds is just forcing it. But the team of test containers have done basically the same workaround. Yes, okay. They've basically done the same workaround, so I don't need to do it anymore. That's good. So where are we? So what we want to do, we want to show a list of organizations to the user. How do we get that? Well, you could think, well, what you could do is you could get it from the organizations directly using this or such a query. The problem is that organization is a standalone table, basically. It has no knowledge of users or whatsoever. So it would be a bit weird to put this query into organizations. Although you could, using a join table, and maybe if you would have a lot of these queries, we would maybe want to, and if they are very slow, we want to optimize them, then we can create like a separate interface for it. Instead of organization repository, you would say like user-aware organization repository or something, or just saying some names. But for now, I am just going to go for the whole concept that like instead of just doing this one query to get it, I'm just going to first do a select star from organization users where u.user id equals something like this, user id, and then a bit later on I am going to do a select star from organizations o where o dot id in, and then the organization id, something like this, which then of course comes from this one here. So yes, two queries. It's going to be less performant, well, probably less performant, but it's going to allow my code to be more clean, and it's still going to be very fast because I mean, like especially the second query, that's you have your IDs. That's like an instant lookup basically because of it's a lookup on ID. That's not a problem. Should be perfect. And yeah. So let's get to it. So I've already written what I actually want. So this is the find all by user ID, which will give me a list of organization users. This I'm just going to remove. But it seems to fail. And it is saying something, no default constructor for entity, organization, user, DAO. Okay, that's makes sense because I have to set a at no args constructor, which is not protected, private. There. I am thinking of maybe turning off my snooze for 5 minutes plus. Yeah, just turn it off for now. And so now if I would run it, then hopefully now it will work because it will use the no args constructor, then it will use the setters. I'm not so sure of the ID because there I said setter is none, but apparently that works. Okay, yes, of course, because the whole thing is that Hibernate doesn't even actually need setters. It needs a no args constructor because it uses that one to initialize your object, but everything else actually basically does using reflection. And for some reason with reflection you actually need a no args constructor, but you don't need actual setters on your objects because that one you can just access your objects directly and what not. Is there a reason why I set organization ID and user ID are longs? Should this not be a long like this? I mean, yes, probably in the in the database, I think even there they are non-null, right? Organization user ID, not null, not null, indeed. So they cannot be null. So I don't know why I would make them like that, and it should still work. For some reason, the test seems to take quite some time. Okay, so of course this test now just says like, okay, yeah, oh, I only found one, but it doesn't mean much. And why is that? Because if you go look at my organization users SQL, you can see that actually my user is only part of one organization. Well, there only is one to consist of as a whole. So what I want to do is, well, I want to add more users to actually make sure that I find everything. So I have number 2, and that's organization 1 as well, but user 2. Because if you look at users, then that is Christina Thiel. Then I may want to make number 3, and that's organization 2, user. What is organization 2? I think that's Glover. Yeah, Glover group organization 2 is Glover. So then that's going to be number 4. And if I now run this test again, it should still say, of course, only 1. But at least now I know my query is more correct. Yes, okay, and this also is any satisfy I'm gonna say for user what kind of formatting is this? Excuse me, that's not how I do my formatting. That's never how I do my formatting. Where's my formatter? I have my Java formatter and I have the file set. Format file. Then I this should normally be the correct Java formatter. And I think normally it should say formatting. There is a Java format settings. Modified in the workspace. Okay. Java formatter XML. That should be fine. There also should apparently be like a preview. Open Java formatting settings. with preview. Okay. What I typically want is I want to have the wrapping. Okay, that's okay. No lines, insert line. Before while in a do. No, before finally. After annotation, before empty statement. After annotation. Is there fine? Fine. Typically, okay, I don't know where it is. Why is it changing like this? That's so weird. Indentation, I think it's struggling with the scroll bar. Blank lines. These are not even all the actual options. Okay, don't save. Okay, so that's something I have to figure out. Here it is as well. Get user ID, get ID. Maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe this is how I typically have it. What I always thought is that I'll do one method and then the next one I do on the next level. Maybe I don't. I thought I really did it with the streams. If you have organization users, for instance, dot stream, and then I say dot filter, or like I said, to list, for instance, which is a bit stupid, of course. But this, I thought I would always do on separate lines because I just like it a lot more, and that's why I had the whole Java sort of thing. Stream multiple lines. Okay, that's something I will have to look into. I thought I actually thought it worked. I thought my formatter was correct, and I really thought. I mean, like if you look at my config, I shouldn't get so upset about this. Well, I should, but at the same time, not this config. My web security config. Here, for instance, yeah, I assume here it just works because it happens to not fit on one line. Yeah, I guess that's true. Then I have to check another project where I actually did stuff like this. I mean, I thought it would. I thought it just worked. Okay, but anyway, for now, we'll just leave it like this, and I will. It could also just be that the formatter in Java is just not great enough. In Java, in VS Code, VS Code Java formatter. There are also different technologies for it. You have an Eclipse formatter as well. But I think the actual Java formatter is I think is Eclipse. I think this is. But see, look how many options there are. There is no way. And I think if you do split, that's the 80 characters. But if you have wrap before, wrap before, wrap before, wrap before. Maybe there's no such option. Eclipse formatter wrap lines. I know I used to install. It was it was very interesting. I always used to install the Eclipse, the actual Eclipse editor, just so I can edit this. But I guess then this is my new formatting style. Whatever, fine by me. I don't have a very strict rule on like how formatting should be, how it should work. I don't really care too much about it. The only thing I do kind of care of is that it's consistent. And so here, organization user is not this one, but I'm going to say, actually, I'm going to change both tests because now I have, yeah. Final test organization user equals. That's not user. And then here I can just replace all of this with this. Pom, 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 pom. Organization, why was the organization required? Because this organization get ID, yeah. And then this is technically not used. But then the easy part is that I can now easily copy paste this to here. And then I have multiple, and then I can take not Sporer Eduardo, because I'm pretty sure if I format this, my wrapping does not even work. Probably because it doesn't know how to wrap this. Var. Although this should probably not be var. This is too long, so he doesn't know how to wrap this. I guess that's kind of makes sense. Test organization users. Yeah, no, okay, I kind of get that. So now what I also want is I want to make sure that if I have somebody who actually is part of two groups, that I then have it. So let's say user number 4, Alison Dach of Clover Group, she also becomes a member of Huel. So technically, actually, what I don't really need organization user here. I do need user. So I just need test user dot org. And here I say test organization like this. User ID is just user. Okay, but I have to final long user ID equals user get ID. Otherwise, he's gonna complain. And which one do I find? Right, nope. Back to the thing. I do find an organization user ID, so I definitely want to have it like this. Yes, no, okay, no problem. Like this. Although the organization, I guess I can here also just say this should be test organization dot sporer dot get ID. Why? So I can here get and actually organization user get ID here. I'm gonna do test organization user dot sporer Edward Christensen, and then here I'm just gonna do user. Do I need user? No, I just need user ID. User ID equals, this is test user dot Edward Christensen dot get ID. Dot get ID. Yeah, it's a bit long, but that's fine. So this should still work. Okay, yeah, dependency, build failed, continue. The build failed because of this, yeah, so it won't actually run. That's fine. I can do this, and then this should now fail because no compile errors anymore. Should fail, I mean this should now work because there are no compile errors anymore. Multiple, of course, is going to fail, but that's okay because I need test user dot listen, which I don't even think exists yet in my code base. Nope, I only have Judy Harbor. Why do I have, what, who has Judy Harbor? It's a non-existing user, I think. Test session. Test user, organization user, repository, test user. Save. Ah, okay, that's to save the user. Okay, it's a bit weird that I added that as a test user. Okay, I probably want to find none as well, actually, now that I think of it. Single, multiple. Void, none. And then what you, okay, let's do that later. So Ellison, right, yeah, right. I was creating the user Ellison Dach, but I got confused by the user that was already there. Ellison Dach. How come this user actually has an ID then? This is not correct. The ID needs to be long. So this actually will become 10, no? Pom, pom, pom. This I have to move up. How do I move it up again? I don't remember how to move a line up. Move line up. Edit. Section. Move line up. Alt up. I'm pretty sure I did that. Well, maybe not, I guess. Ellison Dash, that's 4L. The email is this one. And the password is this one. Well, the hashed password is this one, of course. Okay, so the user was added. This now works. And if I say multiple, if I run this, then hopefully this fails. Because I'm saying like it should be 1. But it does not. That is correct. And why does it not? It says, but there were 2. Yes. And then I say any satisfy this one. And then I say dot any satisfy. Because honestly, I don't care about order, I guess. Assert that. And then I copy, paste this. And then here I have Yule. I could also just add an extra user, but listen Dach. And this is Yule user ID. Yes, of course, user ID should do this one. This is Clover. Oh, Clover here. Clover. Test organization user is Clover. Listen Dach. So I mean, like, it's a lot of setup right now, and because I have to make sure I have all of this. Then I have Clover Ellison Dach, which is organization users number 3, I think. And then I have Joel Lessendag, which is number 4. Test organization Joel test user Lessendag. None of this exists. Then I say, yeah, I was a bit lazy when I created them initially. Oh, I just noticed that my screen is not showing. How come? No, that's completely wrong. Why is my screen not showing? Give me a second. There, okay, fixed it. Don't know what happened there. Okay, so but organization. So as I said, I was a bit lazy because typically when you add them in your database, you should also add them to your code base. I mean, at least that is kind of, you don't have to, but I like to keep them in sync. Because then I know that if it exists in the database, I can use it in the code, and the other way around. If I use it in the code, then like I know there's a test organization for it, then I know it exists in the database as well. Oh, this is my test database. I mean, it doesn't harm anybody that they exist. And the thing actually is, like, the more you have, the nicer you can even write your test. You can even say like, oh yeah, for all of these users, it should work. So now multiple should work. It should be 2, and it should be exactly these 2. Any satisfy. I think the satisfy works with an assert that in case they come in a different order. Yes, that works. And then none. Okay, and so here is a whole fun part of the none. You could say like, well, none, but you can have none as in like the user doesn't exist, or none as in the user exists, but he's not linked to any organization. But from the point of view of this table, this query, that doesn't actually matter, because even if the user exists and if the user exists and he doesn't have any organization, he's not showing up in here. Of course, if the user doesn't exist, he also can't show up in here. So that doesn't really matter. So I can just say here user ID equals integer.max value. It's long. I just take the long max value, which I know will never be used or should not be used. And then when I say find all, and I just say this dot is empty. I think I have, but I think I might have done something with 99 in the past, where it's like if it doesn't exist, then let me see, do I have organization? No, I think that's going to be probably in user. I hope I was smart enough in the past to do the exact same thing. Exists by email. I somewhere have based on ID. Yeah, this is not gonna happen. SQL injection, because I can't do SQL injection on a long. No, definitely not on user, not on organization. I just might not have done it yet. Session, I don't think session has. Well, no, I don't think session has a find yet. Okay. Because this only pops up, of course, with a find where you want to look up one that exists. Well, in the service, I might have done so. Yes, I think I might be in the session service. Session service test, let's see. This might actually have a create sessions for a non-existing user. User not found. User, no, because there I just mock everything. I don't actually use IDs. No, okay. No, I think it's fine. So, Organization repository test. I have to look at that because I don't use it. That's fine. So there now we've created the database layer to actually fetch the first part. Names are going to measure the explanation. He's right. This should also be called var. Okay. One less problem in my code base. This is a pretty severe one though. The common slang that there's a vulnerability medium. The problem is that let's make a side step again. I think the lang 3, where is it? I think this one, is this not under my control? Org Apache common slang 3. Does it also come from Spring Boot? Spring Boot or Apache Commons lang 3. Lang 3, I wrote this wrong. Dependency versions here, Spring. I am using, is this the correct version? 3.0.x. Okay, but is this the correct one? Let's see. I can't pull out. I can't pull it out. Okay, there, got it. Pom pom pom. Search org Apache Commons 3.12.0. That's the version it uses. Here it says 3.17.0, so I think my Spring Boot is on a newer version than mentioned here, which is weird because it's a 3.0. I am 3.0. Version property. Probably under the A, I think Apache Commons. Commons lang 3. Okay, Commons lang 3 dot version. So if I wanted to, I'm gonna check Maven Central. If I wanted to, I could use this to figure out a fixed version. But let's check. Lang 3, search. Then you will see that 3.17 indeed has one vulnerability, 3.20 is the latest. And if I do this, the warning goes away. Okay, but so this is JSON web token version. Is that still used? No, I did remove that dependency. Okay. Come up due to vulnerability. As soon as Spring Boot comes out with a new version, it will be fine. Well, if they bump their version, it will be fine. It's interesting because this is one from the 3.17. Actually, is a pretty old one. August 29, 2024. That's a whole year ago. More than a whole year ago. Why are you still using such an old version? The 20 is from November 12th. Okay, but so that one is resolved now as well, which was a big one. Some to-dos. Oh, what is this? Is there another vulnerability? Non-security variables 0. But he recommends. Why does he recommend his own version? Bouncy Castle. I think I still need Bouncy Castle, no? I don't even know. 182. 182 dash redhead 00. I can't even. Oh, you have the redhead GA. But that's 81. You go back a version. No, it says 80. Ah, you have EA. Early access. Nah. You have an 83 as well. But I'm actually not sure if I still need Bouncy Castle. Anyway, to make sure that with the whole adding of all these users, we didn't break anything, it probably is a good idea to actually run all of our tests again. And actually, the whole concept of like, do I actually still need this dependency is actually also very interesting to just see, like, well, what if we just completely remove this? It excludes Lombok. I think that was required because of the whole new Java 25 part. Yeah, we'll have to see that. There is a problem in our organization repository safe. Okay, because I changed the Judy Harbor. I think I made a mistake. Well, that's not a mistake. 10. Organization user. Well, of course, because you can't save Judy Harbor as the user. What was I thinking? So the whole concept is I want to add a user to here, but of course the user doesn't exist. I should just add. I should use test user, and I say Christina Thiel. And then I can say Christina Thiel. So, I mean, like, that's all the whole point. Like, this user who doesn't exist doesn't make any sense. So I think from now on it will not be used. So I can just take someone else. I think I might have added that user before I actually generated all my other users. And instead of just fixing it, I was lazy again. Past me really screwed me over on this one. So this I'm pretty sure I can delete. And if I can't, my compiler will tell me. Compiler safety is the most valuable thing you can have because it helps you out in all these kind of situations. Like, can I delete this? I don't know, just do it. If you couldn't delete it, then your compiler will tell you. Build failed, continue. I don't know why the build failed. Probably because Judy Harbor cannot be resolved. Judy Harbor mobile. Test session, find all reference. There is no reference to this user. So the answer was, do I need Judy Harbor? Yes, but I only needed it because there's another piece of code that depended on it that's no longer used, so I can delete all of it. And that's perfectly fine. This one already run again? Seems like it. Couldn't execute statements, duplicate key violate. Okay, wait, because I think I might have organization users. I might, yeah, okay, damn. I already added that user. So I actually should add Daphne Lesh on that for that test because she is not part of the organization yet. Daphne what was it? Lesh? Organization users, no. Users here. Daphne Lesh. She's 3L. Email address. Okay, and then in my test that failed, we, for the last time, say, actually it's not Christina Thiel, it is Daphne Flesh. And now all my tests should just work. And then I can go back to my POM, and I can delete the whole dependency, but I think I need it. I think, although it would, I think there is some Spring stuff that relies on Bouncy Castle. Okay, but we will see quickly enough. If you run now, I hope he will compile first again. I'm not 100% certain of that, but he should. Okay, it seems like it was not needed. That's a bit interesting. Another good way to test, of course, would be to just test or just run the application. Because there might be certain things where I mock out parts which is still required by Spring. Okay, but if this still works, then I'm just gonna put it back and I will check it later. That's all fine. Okay, but I think it's probably still gonna be needed. That actually does mean that there is a test that's not, or well, a test that's kind of missing. Which is of course not very good either. But apart from that, I guess it's still okay. So now that we are able to actually get our first step, so we have this part done now, it is important that we also do this. And you will see that on my repositories, I always use regular repository. I know you also have like the list CRUD repository. Which, yeah. So you this list CRUD repository, and the list CRUD repository itself already has like a find all by ID, which is an iterable of IDs. So I'm just gonna go and copy this, which of course is again in the CRUD repository, but the CRUD doesn't return a list. Find by ID, save all. I would assume that they also have a find all by ID. Yeah, but so this is an iterable instead of a list, which is a minor difference. The repository itself, of course, has nothing. That's just an interface to tell to Spring, basically, this is a repository of these types, because you need type information, of course. But I will copy bits, the similar behavior of a list CRUD repository, because I think lists are nicer. And this is an iterable. Sure. This also could have been a list. And that's why the whole discussion as well, like why up until recently, actually Spring didn't have any list returns, but it was like an iterable. Why? Because the whole idea is like you have to be as generic as possible. Here as well, you accept an iterable. It can be a set, it can be a list, it can be whatever you want it to be. It can be all of it, basically, as long as it's iterable. Why? Because you don't need more. You just need to be able to iterate over the IDs and probably put them in the query, I assume. And that's it. Of course, the whole return type as well is like you don't want to expose your internals. So here, like, yeah, you return a list, but you're like, yeah, even if it would be a list, you would be like, well, I'm not sure if I actually want to return a list. I mean, like if you have internal a list, but maybe later on you want to change it to a set, or you want to do something else, or yeah, you don't want to return it as you may not want to return it as that type. You might just want to say like, well, it's an iterable, or it's a collection. I make no guarantees about it. If it's a set, of course, a set makes harder guarantees, but you can't iterate over it. A list is very easily iterable, but then again, doesn't make the guarantee about it being elements being unique. So there are reasons to say like, well, I don't want it to be a list. I just want it to be iterable. Why? Because, well, yeah, maybe I don't want to restrict my internal to really be a list if I then want to change it and all of a sudden it becomes a set or whatever. Yeah, because of my interface, I'm like, well, now I actually have to return it as a list, so I have to convert it. That is annoying. It's not like it's overcomable, as they would say. You can just fix it, or you can, yeah, it's not that difficult, but you have to do extra work. So that might be not the most interesting one. And so that's why you may want to do certain things, which you would think like, oh, why is it not this type? Well, because of reasons. And typically, often, pretty good reasons. But okay, class find all by ID. And then the first one I'm going to do is test void null IDs, or IDs null. And then I say organization repository find all by ID null. And of course I'm going to have to assert that. It doesn't assert that. Actually, I don't know what this one does. So that's already a very good thing. I think it might return a list. Do I typically call it result? I say saves results. How do I call it in the other one that I've just written? And I already completely forgot what I called it. I think because it was generated organization users. Did I call it? I also used it saved here. Rename result. And I am going to actually put a line in between. I find that a bit more easy to read and to see. So here as well, always the same structure. Here as well, you see that there is always a line between my data and the thingy. Organization user, no, okay. Here I say what? Well, that was the wrong list. Hibernate mapping list. Why can't I find Java utilists? Okay, just number 3. And I say assert that result is empty. If it actually is empty, and then we will run it, and then we will know. And then we know the behavior of Spring. Can it handle a null iterable or not? I wouldn't be surprised if it just throws an exception. And honestly, I wouldn't even blame Spring because that would be normal behavior. Voila, it throws an exception. But then at least now I know IDs must not be null. Illegal argument exception. Assert that thrown by is instance of illegal argument exception dot class. And now you might think like, well, but why would you enforce, or why would you do something? Why would you make a test for it? Why? Because it's Spring. If Spring wants to change it to a different exception, then or no exception anymore, and all of a sudden be able to handle it, then you would have to change all your tests. And yes, that is correct. You would have to do that. But I value having a test. Okay, apparently the illegal argument exception is a nested exception. Or did I just completely read that wrong? Invalid data access API usage. Interesting. Well, no, so why do I want to create a test for it? Or why do I really want to enforce it? The simple reason is that if they change it, and I relied on the fact that this exception would be caused by something that I want to handle, then if they change this exception, and they, for instance, say that it's not invalid data access API usage exception anymore, but indeed an illegal access or illegal argument exception, then my logic of catching this exception will and handling this exception will fail. Now, this is just an application exception, so it doesn't matter. I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm just going to let it throw. I should never pass on null as a list. Let's see. IDs empty. And then I should say final list. I find all by ID, IDs, and here I have a final list of long IDs, list.of, well actually empty, so collections.empty list. And I have to do the list again. And then I say assert that the result is empty. Okay. Result equals there. So this should work. I mean, this is ID, so I shouldn't even call it empty. I should say, well, yeah, no, ID is empty because, and then here I have, which test do I still want to add? I want to say test void single, add test void multiple, and then I have a test void not found. And technically, you may want to have a test as well where you have a mix of them. So you would say test void sum not found. And why is that? Because these are the success cases. Okay, I say like, give me organization ID 35. For instance, I'm actually going to quickly do this. If I say here in the collections, then I say here is list.off, and then I say long.maxValue, then this should give me nothing. Whereas if some are not found, then it shouldn't freak out and it shouldn't like not return anything. No, it should still give back the ones that are found. So that's the idea. Actually, I'm thinking I'm gonna remove this for now. If I say single organizations, let me check organizations. I think I have created organizations or sufficient organization. Yes. If I say organizations and I say single and say list of, and I say here, test organization dot sporer dot get ID has size 1 and any satisfy org for which I can then do something. Assert that org dot get ID dot is equal to. I actually might even say final var expected org is test organization dot sporer, and then I can here say expected org dot get ID, assert that, because I think I removed all the equals stuff. Yeah, org dot get name dot is equal to. I don't even have a DTO, DAO, I have the info, yes. It's equal to expected dot get name. If I wanted to have an equals, then I would write it in this method, because here is the only place where I'm actually going to deal with DTOs, I guess, except maybe in the storage gateway. But there, I think indeed I would mostly mock stuff. Yes, that's a nice part of the whole gateway part, is that I give you info, you can mock it back, and I can mock everything. Yes, that was a nice part of it. So this should work. I search for Spore, I get Spore back. This might actually be a good way to do the other one as well. What is no default constructor? Aha, no default constructor is the exact same as what you saw before. And why is that? That's because I don't have my DAO, organization DAO test. No, I in my actual code, organization DAO. I, again, did not create a no args constructor with access level private. And now it will work. Oh, now it should work. Et voila. And then multiple is actually not that much more difficult. There I can just say test organization spore get ID and test organization dot glover dot get ID, and then I say, okay, any satisfying this and any satisfying glover, and voila, creating tests is pretty easy now. I think I might even be able to create one test out of it. If I just do here the list of test organizations, then I might be able to do that. What is wrong here? Yeah, okay, yeah. I might be able to do it. Like, you just take a list of test organizations, which I don't think is that easy. Well, you can do it with the method, but then that makes it more difficult. If you would be able to create a list, then it would be easy because you can iterate over the list. So yeah, but okay, it doesn't really matter. That's a not found, and then I say some not found. Then I just say here, I might even edit in the middle. I say long dot max value. My God. And even when I do this, I still expect to find the two that actually are there, Sporer and Glover. And voila, there we have added the whole logic on database level. And then next time, well, offline, I guess, I will already add some storage gateway stuff, because this is pretty boring stuff as well. I mean, like, you just get in, you would get some logic, and you would return it back. I mean, maybe for instance, this would be an ID, I guess. I'm not so sure if I would really get the, because this is a create, it's not a find. Does session already have it? Did I already do it for session? No, session also only has create. Organization doesn't have it yet. User doesn't user have it. Probably user already has it, no? Exists by email, and then you get an email, find by login. Yeah, these are real objects. But I think in this case, it's not worth it to get the actual and to use an object. Login is a more complex. I mean, it has username, password, I guess. But in the case of, if you say like, okay, I want to see all the organizations for this user, yeah, then you end up with in your, let me quickly check the controller. In the controller, you would have here the create should have it, create session. It should. No, the create session, of course, word does not work. Yeah, okay, organization has it. Organization controller, there you can see that we have the concept of principal. I don't agree with this. It's no available with var instead, so I'm going to turn that one off. Null type safety expression of type field needs confirm non-null URI. Well, I'm pretty sure this is non-null. And is this? I mean, like, get location can never return null, as far as I know. Do not use var args. Why would you not use var args? Let's see. Do not use var args. Okay, they don't have any explanation about it. Typically, they do have. Quick fix. SonarQube show issue for this. Here they have it. As stated per effective Java, var methods are a convenient way to define methods that require variable numbers of runs, but they should not be overused. They can produce confusing results. So I guess that you want me to do a list. But list is annoying. List is annoying. It's not clear. I understand it's not clear. Yeah, maybe I will find a way to handle this. Anyway, declare stock of the var. Long parse long. Yes, this is kind of right. This is okay. Anyway, so what I was trying to say is, like, here you have your principal, but your principal actually only contains your ID, of course, because that's the information that's in the token. So the principal contains the user ID. Soon it will also contain the organization ID, of course, if you're logged in with your organization in a particular organization. So yeah, then you could say like, okay, well, then we first actually using that ID, we should fetch the user, and then if we have the user, then we can do something. But that doesn't make any sense. I mean, the user is authenticated. Why would you still have to go look up the user? You just use that user ID to check which organization he has access to. You already know that he is who he says he is. That's the whole point of having the token. But so offline, I will do the boring storage gateway part. The service is going to be interesting, so I might already do that, or I might leave that for the test, or doing it together, I mean. And then, of course, the controller is also going to be pretty boring because you get your principal, you just pass it on, and then you return it back. So I think I will do that off camera as well, and then maybe leave the service for what it actually is. Um, there, the question, of course, becomes: are we gonna do organization service? I assume so, because organization service already depends on organization user service and storage. Okay, no, so we're going to split it out indeed in two again. And so this is an interesting part, like where I said the database, okay, you have the database part, the organization user depends on organization, but in the service is the other way around. And why is that? Of course, when you create an organization, you want to also create an organization user. So the dependency database is inverse of the service, which is fine. So that's why when we say like, okay, give me all the organizations, you ask the organization service, it's like, give me all the organizations, and the organization service will then request the information from the organization user service, and then when it has that information, it will say, like, okay, now I know which organizations to actually fetch, then I will go to my storage gateway, get it back, and here are my organizations, period. So but that we will probably do together. I might go through the code a bit and see if I can clean up some of my problems or mute the thing. The only thing is, I think these remarks are on my local system and not so much on my yeah, this I also have to check. I mean, like, this is really ridiculous. That's non-null. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure the get body is non-null. There should be a string. Get body user. And this is even in my test. So I mean, like, this can never be null. How can this ever be null? Think about it. It's unchecked conversion. How can you not know that this is not null? I mean, like, this can be null. This can be null, and then it gets filled in here. But that's fine. I mean, this can never return null. So the compiler is a bit stupid here. Here it's even worse. Media type. How can this be? I mean, this is literally an enum with a string, with two strings in it. I mean, like, how? So SonarQube can sometimes be a bit annoying. Can I not see? It's even my compiler that actually says this one. Ignore compiler problems. Null type saves the expression of type media type needs unchecked conversion to confirm to at non-null media type. I don't see how this can ever be null. I don't see it, but okay. Same for the body, same for the expected response. I mean, like, so this, yeah, I don't know why my compiler is complaining about all of these in the tests, and it does it about literally all of them. Potential null access. Yeah, maybe you're right. I might add an extra assertion, see if that fixes it. But I might go through of some of those, and then I will see you next time. Bye.